Hey everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Francis Desrochers. I'm co-founder and president at helloDarwin. I see that we already have a lot of you on the calls, so and a few of you are probably joining as I'm speaking now. While we wait for you to join and get seated, I'll introduce the subject and my co-host. So the subject today is grants. Obviously, no surprise there. We love grants. And with a special outlook on the announcement that were made in Ottawa regarding the federal budget 2 days ago. And my co-hosts, two of my amazing colleagues, Florence Chenel, which is our political expert, and Vincent Desrochers, our grant specialist. Hey guys, how are you doing? Ready to do this?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Very excited.
Nice. Good. Awesome. So before I get started with the agenda for today's session, let me just put some, house rules. First of all, you're a lot of people on the call now, so there's a Q&A section on Zoom. Please write any comments or questions you're having throughout the session. I have them here, and I'll be asking Florence and Vincent throughout the session. We want it to be the most actionable possible. You probably heard about the budget already, so we're going to do a quick recap of the political landscape and the budget itself, but we want to focus a lot more on grants. If you can skip the slide to show the agenda. Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about helloDarwin. I know probably most of you already know us. We have some clients and partners here, but just a quick recap. Then Florence and Vincent are going to talk about the overall landscape regarding the budget. But we want to spend a lot of time talking about specific programs that are either opening soon or that are opening now and that are aligned with the government initiatives that were just announced. Can you switch the slide? Good. So who's helloDarwin? Well, we're a company that supports other organizations in identifying and obtaining grant funding. So whether you're looking to expand in new markets, you're going to be served here because there's a lot of announcement regarding new markets. But whether it's an expansion, integrating new technologies, starting a green transition, there is programs for that, and we know them pretty well. So we have two ways of working with our clients. The first one is our bread and butter, the one we're most known for. It's an advisory service, a one-to-one relationship that we have with our clients. Florence and Vincent are part of this team of 60 people in our Montreal and Toronto offices. We take care of everything for our clients, from the identification, the strategy, or the application itself, the grant writing. And we also have a new way of helping our organization leverage programs and government programs, which is our self-serve platform that includes every tools that we built for ourselves, but that we are now giving to people. After the call, you'll receive a recap of today's session, but you'll also have ways for you to reach out to us. And we will do an assessment of your grant potential. Depending on that, we can point you to the right direction. Did I cover everything?
I think it's a good place to start. We did do the French version of that webinar yesterday, and it extended to a 75 minutes webinar due to the questions, and a couple of hundreds people stayed in the meeting afterwards just to ask a lot of questions. So we'll try to be as concise as possible and give as much information on the grants and government incentive side of things. But whenever anyone has a questions, feel free to ask them, and we'll take the time.
Yeah. Awesome. Good. Florence, you want to kick us off with the political landscape?
Yeah, let's talk about the budget. So I want to try to do a small exercise first, and we're going to look at the budget from last year and the budget from this year, just the cover page, because, we say you can't judge a book by its cover. Sometimes you can. So what do we see here? When we look at last year's budget, what does it inspire?
I'm seeing family, fairness for every generation. So definitely a family or focus on this one.
Yeah, community-oriented, definitely.
Yes, and if we switch to this year, what does it tell us?
A very different picture. 1,000 words.
So even if we're changing government, even if we're keeping the liberals in power, the change of government with the Carney administration is really changing the way we view the situation and how to approach government spending. On the left with Trudeau, we're very socially focused. On the right, very big focus on the economy and infrastructure. So if we look at, the context of this year's budget, of course, trade tensions with the United States are a main concern. We know that industries are impacted a lot, and that does really transpire in the budget. We see over $15 billion in investment in companies that are affected by tariffs so that we can grow local trade, so that we can increase business competitiveness and develop new markets. Of course, a deficit as well, $50 billion last year, 43 the year before. It's not going better for this year either. We're going up to $78 billion deficit, but we're calling it investment.
Yeah, they're changing the metrics and it's moving the stick a bit, so everything's all right?
Yeah, they're saying we're not spending money, we're investing in Canada's RRSP. That's basically what we're doing. And then, but of course, it's a minority government, so technically we could be in election in 2 weeks if it doesn't pass. The chance that it doesn't pass are rather low because, the government only needs 2 votes after Chris D'Entremont switched from the Conservatives to the Liberals. And, it's really in no one's interest to go into elections over the holidays. So, we're expecting it to pass as is. If we look at the highlights, so first of all, we're switching a little bit the rhetoric, right? We're looking at, instead of just government spending in general, we're looking at operational expenses and investment expenses. And we're going to go over what constitutes an investment because it's an interesting way of seeing it. And then a budget in the fall instead of the spring. And the context very much of reduced operating expenses and increasing investment. So what we want to reduce is the salaries of public service. We want to reduce the transfer to provinces, transfer to individuals. So we want to cut into what we consider to be just spending. We want to invest in new railways, expansion of ports, airports, anything that helps us increase trade, and obviously invest in companies because that creates more growth for Canada. So what do we consider to be an investment, right? So we look at, does the recipient of the funding invest in capital formation? And is there a clear link between the expenditure and a sector or project? So can we find, economic impact within the project that we're funding? So if we let's look at example A. Okay, so a company is building a new factory. So the factory will belong to the company. It will not belong to the government of Canada, but the government of Canada is investing $1 million as a subsidy to build this facility. Is it an investment or a operational spending?
I'm going to say yes.
It's investment, yep, because it does create capital, which is in the form of a real, infrastructure.
That was an easy one, though.
That was an easy one. And due to the fact I took the quiz yesterday and I had the answer right. But yeah,
so you're cheating is what you're saying.
I am, but I'm honest about it, so that's okay.
So second company is conducting R&D to improve their product and create more Canadian intellectual property. And the government is giving the company a $450,000 reimbursable tax credit as part of the SR&ED program to fund this. Is this a spending or an investment?
I'm going to say I would have said spending, but now I know it's an investment, correct?
It is it's an investment, which is weird because, when you think about intellectual property, you don't necessarily see it as capital. It doesn't have a tangible value. But in the eyes of the government, it is considered to have value, and thus it's an investment in Canada's future.
And that's going to be a big change with the just investment policies that they're going to have regarding the sort of
well, exactly, because if we're cutting on spending and we're increasing in investment, it means that, everything that's related to spending, we want to be careful with what we spend. And if it's investment, it's a free-for-all.
So that's interesting.
And lastly, let's say company C is developing new markets because the US is its first main export market, but now needs to diversify to Europe because of the trade war. The government is giving a $50,000 grant to conduct marketing and carry out trade mission. I wonder which grant this could be. Is it an investment or spending?
I want to say yes.
It's spending. This one is spending, but because we can still link it to economic growth, it doesn't have any tangible value. Like a trade mission is not capital in itself, but it does drive economic growth. So it's still, it's kind of like spending plus plus, where we're still down.
But is it specifically because it's for marketing purposes, or just because of like the new markets?
It's because we can't consider that the funding recipient is investing in capital formation with the money. So
even though it might generate jobs and growth overall,
exactly.
right?
So there's economic impact, and then there's capital formation. So IP and brick and mortar, that's considered capital formation. Marketing is a cost.
But I'm guessing if you're to develop a new product and have intellectual property on it and create a new factory to build those products and then do an international mission, those first two projects would still be considered an investment by the government and would be eligible to grants. It's just that other one that's going to be considered as a spending for the government.
And I mean, there's still going to be grants, right, for the marketing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's generally smaller grants, whereas when it goes to the bigger project of like you're including the IP and then they're going to be more generous. Is the difference.
Awesome. The other.
Yeah, the other small big thing
Not sure.
jury's still out on this one. The budget in the fall instead of the spring. So normally budget is presented in March, but it's not a weird thing to do it in the fall. I mean, it's something that is done in other G7 countries. It's just not how we have traditionally done things in Canada. What the minister said the goal was, for this change is more predictability. So being able to present the budget 6 months before the beginning of the fiscal year, which starts in April, and then a better alignment with the construction season, because if we're in the fall and there is announcement for the construction industry, then it gives them months to prepare projects, whereas if you just present everything in March, it's a little short.
You got a few weeks at best.
You have a few weeks to prepare, and then it's almost the construction holidays.
So definitely it's like construction oriented, right?
Construction, agriculture, infrastructure. The big focus is really on the industries that are seen as being behind. We have we're lacking productivity, especially in the manufacturing sector. We need to do more growth in the construction sector. I mean, we need houses, right? And so that's really where the money is going.
Good. I already had a question regarding the not necessarily the fall budget, but like, are we going to talk about not-for-profit grants as well, not-for-profit companies grants as well, or only for-profit?
Some of the grants we're covering later are also going to be eligible to non-for-profit, but most of them are for-profit, I do believe. The best way to go about it to find grants for the non-profit, just cater to that, would be to log on to our platform and look at the database we have of the 3,500 grants available on federal, provincial, and municipal databases. So that way they can filter out what exactly is the best fit for them. But we'll go over different grants and we'll be able to mention which is which.
Yeah, good. Awesome.
So key announcement when it comes to industry, $16 billion in strategic investments to help navigate the trade war with the US. That's what I think I mentioned earlier. Then targeted by financial support for market diversification. I mean, it's always a big thing about, Canada. We're a small market, so the more we can export, the better it is for our economy. Then major tax relief for businesses investing in productivity, research and development, green technologies. So a lot of either maintenance when it comes to green technologies, the tax credits are maintained, and then R&D and productivity. We have some new measures that are in place. And then $12 billion in investment in strategic sectors. So as mentioned, right, artificial intelligence, critical mineral, construction, forestry, agriculture. So all those, when it comes to, construction, forestry, agriculture, critical minerals, we're really targeting essential sectors of the economy. I mean, we do need national sovereignty over our ability to build, to eat, and et cetera. And then artificial intelligence and how to really reach that, 4.0 industry standard.
Good. I had a question from about the previous slide. For the three examples, how are the grants allocating for services instead of products or tangible like brick and mortars? Is there any service grants, like service focused grants such as procurement, processes, design, etc.?
For people that are selling a service?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I get from the question.
Absolutely. That would be eligible to grants. It's just a matter of what are your expenses and what are your projects and priorities. Because grants are always, as we're talking right now, are going to be considered an investment by the government. And for every grant, there's a specific objective behind that investment. Is it to help retain job in your specific sector, or is it in your region? Is it to help improve your competitivity or improve your productivity and just your export and market diversification? So depending on what are going to be your expenses, is it that you plan on developing new markets, or is it that you want to improve your productivity with new softwares or hire new people to expand? Depending on that, different grants are going to align.
Even for service business.
Even for service business, it's really about, how can we link the money that you get from the government to economic impact that is beneficial to the government, right? If they're investing in your company through a grant, they're expecting money back, right?
Yeah.
So either that's through creation of jobs or new revenues, new increased margins, all of it, which is going to increase how much taxes you pay or how much taxes you generate, fiscal revenue you generate for the government, and how you help make the economy grow. So that's really what they're looking is, if I give you $1, can you give me 5 back?
Yeah, and this is a common misconception that we often hear about, right? It's not free money, right? The government has objectives, and whenever you write a grant application, you need to reflect that within the application itself. So really important.
It's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Reflect that. Yeah.
I had another question regarding defense spending, but I think that we have a slide coming out.
Have a slide, yeah.
Okay, good. Awesome.
So are we moving ahead?
Yeah, we can move.
Great.
Sure. You want to go? Tariffs?
I love tariffs. I do. There was a lot of new grants that were just announced through that budget. There's $1 billion over 3 years for the Regional Tariff Response Initiative. Lots of people have heard about it. It's available all throughout Canada. It's distributed by region by the Canadian Economic Development Agencies. So I know in Ontario there's a southern and another one, northern one. In Quebec there's a specific one. In Quebec, they ended the application on November 4th. They're going to reopen in January 1st, but everywhere in Canada, it's just a first come, first serve basis.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So everywhere outside of Quebec is an ongoing application process. In Quebec, it's a funding round process. So we just finished the first round, and there should be another one in the winter. So depending where you are geographically in Canada, it's either you need to work on it right now, or you need to prepare it for the winter, depending.
Absolutely. And we'll go over what exactly is this grant a bit later on, but it's for companies that have been impacted directly or indirectly by the tariffs. We've seen a couple of grants pop up over the last few months regarding that. So that's one of them that has also been announced as a refinancing over the course of the next 3 years. And then there's $12 billion over the course of 5 years in sectoral support. We don't know exactly where that's going to go and what initiatives that's going to be born out of it. So we're waiting some response. I'm guessing around January and February and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's a budget, right? So it just says we're going to spend money in those areas. The programs themselves, sometimes they haven't built yet, so they need to be built.
Absolutely, and bureaucracy always takes a bit of time.
What? Government efficiency is the cornerstone of our country. Okay, moving on. If we look at market diversification, so the goal of the government, right, is to double export outside of the U.S. within 10 years. We know that the U.S. is our main trade partner, but with the tariff, the tensions with the Trump administration, we're realizing that the free trade agreements that we have are not as solid as we think, and so we're really looking at Europe and Asia to increase our export. I know Africa can also be a really significant market depending on the industry, obviously. So there is an enhancement of the CanExport support that is going to come. So $68.5 million over 4 years coming to CanExport, which is one of our favorite over here.
It's one of the grants that a lot of people know, but lots of people have missed out on it. Most of the people that I spoke with, they say, oh yeah, I know, I've heard of CanExport. I tried to apply last year, but it ended before I could, or I was rejected for X or Y reasons. It's a hard one to get in because, as we mentioned, they want to have the tangible evidence of what's the return on investment for that spending and that grant. So you really need to have tangible plan of what is your export and your market diversification that you're trying to attain with that. And that's where a lot of people are missing out, I think, on their grants requests, as much as the limited time to apply typically.
It's always the question is what's the economic impact going to be, right? You give me $50,000 to help with my market diversification. I will generate $2 million more in annual revenue and create 3 jobs. That's tangible, right? And that's what they want to see. We know that CanExport traditionally accepts between 25 and 30% of applicants. It's really not a big number. It's not a big number of companies, so it's really competitive. You have to be on target.
Absolutely. And we see that they tend to start reviewing the application on day one. So when they review the first applications, when the money's all good, it's a bit easier to say, yes, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
But
if
at
you
the
apply
end,
on May 31st and it's the last day, I mean, you're really shooting yourself in the foot.
absolutely.
I already have a lot of questions, so thank you guys. I think you understood the assignment. Okay, a few of them are regarding specific, industries or business sectors, automotive, real estate. If it's possible to just give an outlook whenever you talk about grants, if those industries or sectors are applicable. Do we have?
I could give an overview right now. I'd say that all that we're saying right now, we sometimes have a specific on the sectors and industries that are themselves eligible to grants. But if you have a project that aligns with the project that we're talking about in terms of productivity, in terms of market diversification, and lots of those other initiatives with intellectual property and AI and all of that, you're going to be eligible to those grants in most of the cases. So there's thousands of grants. Lots of them are going to be based either on what are your expenses, where are you based, or what's your industry, or a mix of all of those 3. But typically there's going to be something for you if you have the right project that aligns with the government
Project
initiatives.
might be like the main thing.
It really is the main thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. I also have a question regarding where can we find the link of the full official budget, and do we have a breakdown of the grants from, let's say, the budget, let's say breakdown by industry, sectors, or projects? I'd say for the second question, obviously the application is a good place to start because you can enter your business sector, your location, the business size, your annual revenue, and you're going to see the best programs that are fitting your demographic.
And you're going to be able to get alerts, right? To know when the programs are open, because just because it says, there's an enhancement of CanExport, it doesn't mean it's open right now. It's going to open this winter. So best case scenario is really, log on to the app or talk to one of our team to be able to get a head start on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the timing of it all is very important. As you mentioned, they have specific envelopes that are going to be open at specific times and windows to apply. So the most important thing is to be ready on time, and being on time is basically being late. So ahead of schedule is even better.
Another question regarding, let's say, what about new invention products that reduce pollution globally? Is there a focus around that in the budget that was mentioned?
Well, there's always incentives for research and developments. There's grants, there's tax credits that are available for that. So that absolutely. For the green portion, there are renewed tax credits for clean technology and stuff like that. I have not seen anything specific for research and development in the clean tech sector, but
that tax credit could apply for.
But the tax credit would apply. The
SR&ED might be also a good fit because it's
IRAP as well. The grant program IRAP would apply, and you might be able to get a priority because you're investing in clean tech. But, is there a specific program? No. Is it going to help for the other programs? Absolutely.
And the thing that everyone needs to do when they have a specific project that we expect to have grants or government incentive is to have a clear view of what are all the government incentives that are available. Because if you have IRAP, you have SR&ED, you have the clean tech investment tax credits. It's a lot of different options that sometimes can be taxed, but sometimes they can't. So you need to understand what would be the right door to go through to make sure that you're aligned with the best government incentive for your program. So that tends to need a lot of understanding of what's the ecosystem of grants right now and what's upcoming also in the next few months, just to make sure that you're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Well, this and also, today we're talking about the federal budget, but the truth is, in your province, there's going to be incentives. In your city, there might be incentives as well. And, don't take this to be the only things that are available for you. The truth is, there are many more programs that are available to help your company. And this is why, the app and our services are
And
really
we've done sessions like webinars about, specific either industry or provincial or...
On November 27th, we're doing one specifically for the manufacturing industry as well. So yeah, we want to give the information out, but right now it's really just scratching the surface because I think it's around 40%, maybe less of the grants that we're doing for our clients that are from the federal government. There's a lot of them from the provincial and regional as well. So right now we're just scratching the surface of what's on the federal level. So if you don't find anything that fits exactly what you're looking for, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means that we don't have enough time in 60 minutes to cover it all. But just after the meeting, as Francis told earlier, you're going to receive a link and a link to a calendar of our specialists to get a free assessment of what's your grants profile looking like, and you'll be able to see what's the best way to go about it.
So maybe, Florence, can you just recap, is there, how do we see the environment priorities throughout the budget that was just announced compared to, let's say, economic growth or market diversification?
Environment is not as much a priority as we would have believed with the with the Carney government. Carney is historically very green, very pro environment. We're not seeing this in this budget. We see we've seen the incentives to buy electric vehicle. It was promised it would come back. It's not coming back. The 2 billion trees program not coming back. The carbon tax obviously being canceled as well. So, it's not as much of a focus in terms of specific programs for clean energy, clean development. It's more going to be a question of you're going to be eligible for all the other programs, and you might be able to get a priority when you apply to it. But there doesn't seem to be very, significant specialized efforts in this sector.
Good, awesome. Other questions regarding SR&ED, but we're going to cover that.
We're going to cover that as well.
Good.
Let's keep going. Quickly, defense. So $81 billion in defense spending over 5 years. Obviously, a lot of that is for procurement. So if you're in the industry of defense, we're talking about over $70 billion worth of procurement coming your way. And I know Canadian suppliers are going to be prioritized. There's a $6.6 billion investment over 5 years for the defense industrial strategy, which includes all the investments down below, really to help companies that either are in the defense sector or are not in the defense sector, but their technology can be applied to it, or they want to pivot into it. There's going to be significant investment to help you make that pivot become more efficient and create those Canadian supply chains.
Awesome. And then tell us about the super deduction.
Cue the Marvel theme song. Yeah. So new investment, for competitiveness of businesses. There is an accelerated investment incentive for anything related to productivity. We're still waiting on the line items that are going to be eligible for this, but what we're understanding is you're going to be able to get a super deduction in the first year that you purchase equipment that is going to improve productivity. So that means instead of having to amortize to have an amortization schedule over 7 years, you're going to be able to deducted all upfront in the first year, which is significant. Which for some businesses is not going to help that much, but for some other is going to be.
Some it's make or break in terms of just cash flow and making sure that it works out to risk the investment in itself. Absolutely, and there's a lot of different initiatives that we're expecting to come out of those investments, but again, bureaucracy. So a few months later on, we might.
And then they did announce improvement to the SR&ED program, which we're going to touch on later. Just it's there, but we're going to touch on later. I think we're there, right? We're at the grants portion.
We are at the grants portion. It's going to be one of the later ones, but we'll cover SR&ED as well. So in terms of what are some specific grants that were announced or specifically refinanced through the federal budget, the regional tariff response initiatives that we covered briefly earlier on, it opened on October 10th, and in some provinces like Quebec, it closed on November 4th, but other regions, it's first come, first serve until the budget runs out, and the Quebec version is going to relaunch again around January of 2026. So anyone that is eligible to that grant would be a manufacturing business or food processing company that has been impacted directly or indirectly by the tariffs and is looking to do some equipment acquisition, productivity improvements, market diversification, so on and so forth. Lots of different expenses that you'll see on the screen as well. And it's up to $1 million in grants on at least, it's 50% of the expenses, so $2 million plus in expenses and $1 million in grants. So pretty significant. And it's what's also pretty particular about that grant. It's allows you to backtrack the expenses that you'll cover on it. So you'll apply today, you can backtrack the expenses from March 2025 of this year. So because when those tariffs started, and it's going to cover up to March 2028. So obviously it's a very popular grant. We are very busy right now filing the RTRI. And if you're in Ontario right now, it's one of the many options in terms of if you've been impacted by tariffs. We mentioned just this one is for manufacturing and food processing companies. So we had a lot of people in services and other industries. If you're in Ontario and have been impacted by the tariffs, there's also the Ontario Together Trade Fund. There's another one that came out, I think, yesterday that I forgot the name. But as we mentioned, those are just the federal initiatives. Yeah. There's a lot of provincials and municipal regional initiatives as well that you want to be aware of before you start filing a grant or two and maybe realize it isn't the best fit.
About the RTRI, it's a small thing I think people here need to know is if you look at the application on its face, it looks like a very simple application. Do not get fooled. It's extremely important to be able to detail the impact of the tariff on your business, because that's really that's what's gonna change a no to a yes for this program. Is how can you demonstrate tangible impact of tariffs? So did you lose sales? Okay, how many sales did you lose? Do you have a comparison? Do you have emails from your sales team and where they get the response from potential clients that say, hey, we're actually going to hold off on ordering this year because of the tariff? Like, do you have anything that can demonstrate? And that's really what they're going to be looking for. So don't just be like, oh yeah, no, we're in the auto industry, we're affected. It's not going to be enough.
It needs to be specific.
Yeah.
And is there specific ways to demonstrate that? Like you mentioned sales teams, so from direct, prospects or customers. But if you're, let's say, reliant to your suppliers that are themselves impacted by tariffs, is that eligible?
You need to be able to show, comparison. So if what you're saying is I've had a loss in the volumes, well, you need to show volumes from this year and last year. If you can get a letter from your supplier or your vendor that says why they reduced,
or maybe they didn't reduce but they increased price,
or they increased price, and then you can show an order, like two similar order from this year and last year, and like on this one there's a 50% increase, and on this one it's
The most common ways is either you've been directly impacted by tariffs, so that's a no-brainer, you know about it. If it's that's pretty easy. If it's indirectly, is one of the other ways that you mentioned. It's either one, you have a client that stopped ordering, or a couple of clients that stopped ordering from you due to the tariffs, or it's mostly a provider that maybe increased their price due to them being impacted by the tariffs, because it sort of trickles down to everyone. So those two would be eligible. It's just, and that's where it gets a little tricky. It's because it isn't as clear cut as other grants that says if you're implementing an ERP, you're eligible to a grant. Is you have to prove the tangible evidence, and then as you mentioned, it's a fixed envelope and it's a first come, first serve. So they're going to look at all of the applications and see which one is the best one, and which is the easiest one to read, which is the clear and concise one that has the most information as well, and that also clearly outlines the return on investment
And
for
has
the
the right
government.
buzzwords
And
and
has the right
everything.
buzzwords and all of that, and you know all of them. So that's also very important.
Awesome.
So moving on. Another grant that we mentioned that has been refinanced with the federal budget is CanExport SMEs. Lots of people know about it. It's opening around February of every year and stays open for 2 to 3 months at the most. And it's also a very competitive grant, as we mentioned. So you need to have a very solid application to be able to be accepted on this one. It's around $50,000 a year in grants that the companies can receive for any market expansion internationally. They're going to promote right now the market diversification outside of the US, and different expenses like website modification, business travels, trade shows, certification, legal advice, different things are.
Business travel and trade shows being sort of the favorite expenses of the government because we still do marketing like it's 1995. Then CanExport Innovation, sort of a very similar program to CanExport SMEs. Difference is instead of trying to develop new markets for sales, it's about developing partnerships for research and development. So the program is a bit more generous, so 75% of eligible cost, up to 75%, very similar in terms of what sort of expenses are available.
Almost harder to get in because it opens around 3 times a year, but for 7 days at the most.
Maybe 5 business days if you're lucky is about the time you have to apply. Next one is March 1st, so mark it on your calendars.
Yeah, and CanExport Innovation, as you can imagine, it's not just going to a trade show. It's also establishing partnership with international partners, and the expenses of sending prototypes back and forth and stuff like that. So, and intellectual property expenses as well. So,
it's a more complicated application process.
Absolutely.
And you have less time. That's the joy of this industry.
Florence, you mentioned earlier that for CanExport, the application, like the success rate was around 30%,
25,
25%.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure we had a lot more than that.
Over 75 this year.
Okay, could you maybe explain, why, or what could be like the tips and tricks that could be used by some of our listeners right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And this comes from the feedback that we get, from the funders all the time. Is it's really important, first of all, to explain why you're choosing a specific market, and really tie it to economic data. So if you have market data, anything you have, throw it in there. Explain why, I want to go to Europe. Okay, but that's not enough. Like, I want to go to Italy. Okay, but that's not enough. Like, yeah, Italy's nice.
Why Italy?
Why Italy?
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm in the food industry, I can say that, well, I know that the food industry, and specifically my sub industry, has a CAGR of 13.5% over the course of the past 30 years, and we're expecting a CAGR to continue above 15%. And so there is place, and then my competitors are these and these and these. And this is my position against them, right? And this is how I have my edge. And then you really need to be able to tie, again, economic impact. Are you going to create jobs? Are you going to create new investments? Are you going to increase export sales? This is really important. Do not, it looks like a small section that is not important, but it's the most important section. Economic impact in every grant application is going to be the most important question to answer. And this is where, CanExport goes or dies.
Yeah, and we did pretty good on that front.
Yeah.
And so basically it's like building your whole business plan, right? It's not just, hey, I saw this trade show here, I'm pretty sure it's going to be good for us. It needs to be a lot more elaborate.
It's a market analysis.
Yeah.
It's a business plan. It's everything.
And it's not something that's like best to be done with ChatGPT or something, right?
No. The government can sense when an application has been done through ChatGPT.
Yeah, I heard
success rates are lower than the 25%.
Yeah, and either you're not going to have the good data if you prompt ChatGPT out of the blue on this, or it's just not going to include enough data anyways. So however you want to slice it, you need to put some brains into it.
AI is a great tool to go faster. It is, but you do need to have some critical view of what it produces.
Good.
So another grant linked to the tariff situation for companies that have been importing a lot of produce and goods from the US and then have been impacted by the counter tariffs from the Canadian government. There's the process for requesting remission of tariffs that apply on certain goods from the US. Maybe could have just said the title and just leave it at that.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
It's a good one. There's other ones that are a bit more confusing. This one is pretty clear cut. And it's going to do a remission of the tariffs that you have on certain goods from the US. You have to demonstrate that you didn't have any reasonable way to find a new import source as well. So a lot of companies that we're going to see are in the automotive industries, retail as well, that are importing a lot of goods from the US. We had someone do a 100K request a few weeks ago. So it's a very important one to be aware of if you're being imposed a lot of tariffs right now.
And you're gonna for this one, you're really gonna be able to. You're gonna need to be able to show not just I pay tariffs, but also I'm unable to source from not the U.S. Right? I can't source from Canada. I can't source from China. I can't source from anywhere else. And then it's sort of weird. You need to prove it, and I know it's hard to prove a negative, but you still need to somehow be able to demonstrate how what efforts you made to be able to source your materials or your components elsewhere, and show that I have no choice, and then you are eligible.
That's where a lot of people have trouble with the application, I think, with just proving the negative. It's a tough one.
It's
guys,
a challenge.
I've lost focus on the Q&A, so I'm just going to go back in because there's a few questions.
I wondered if we were just alone in this call.
No,
okay.
I'm sorry, everyone. Okay, good. So one that's pretty, specific and elaborate, but I think it's worth mentioning anyway. We haul steel and lumber. We have diversified and bought hopper grain trailers this year. As steel is down because of tariffs, we could still apply even though we have paid for these trailers already.
Well, the RTRI, the Regional Tariff Response Initiatives, it covers expenses from March 2021 of this year up to March in 2028. So if it's an expense that is between those two dates, that would be eligible. Good. If it's someone that aligns with the program.
And then if we're talking about an expense that there were tariffs on that expense specifically, and they want to see if they can get the remission from the tariffs, then the most important question is going to be, if you were to buy it today, would there still be tariffs on that purchase? If the answer is yes, then it's eligible. If the answer is no, then it's no longer eligible.
Yeah, that's a good point. Question regarding CanExport. If can companies that received a CanExport grant in 2025, can they apply for a follow-up funding for the same or different countries in 2026?
It needs to be a different project. If you're going to apply for the same market, you need to be able to demonstrate how it's going to be an improvement on what you did last year. I always recommend to switch to a new market if you're going to apply for a new CanExport. It's doable. We've seen clients, we have clients that were accepted in 2024 that were also accepted in 2025. You have to know, however, that the government heavily favors companies that are on their first.
Okay, but can you get it a year after year?
You could get it year after year. It's just if you get it like in year one, then you're not going to be prioritized for year two.
For the same country, but if it's a different country, maybe.
No, just in, like your company in general. You're not going to be favored, but you still can get it. It's like you need to have a better business case.
But it's worth applying.
It's worth applying. Yeah. Just make sure you have a strong business case.
And when we say prioritize, it's also every grant sort of has a grid, a scoring grid on your application. So are they going to diversify a new market? Have they proven correctly that they are diversifying that market? And lots of those things are going to have an impact. So if you're not prioritized right now, but you do have a new project in a new market, it tends to be accepted, but you need to have a better application. Yeah.
Good. Another question regarding RTRI. Should you need to include expenses for the next 3 years, if obviously it still exists next year, or just expenses thus far?
So the point here would be you get one shot. So make it count is sort of what I would say. So if if you have already had $2 million worth of expenditures that would be eligible as part of the program, then we're gonna build a project around this. But since we have 3 years, I don't know many businesses that don't have $2 million worth of capex in a 3-year horizon. So I would say make it so you get to that 2 million mark. And then we're going to stop.
Yeah, if it's on a 1 year okay. If it's on the 2 or 3 years, okay, as long as you max out that grant for sure.
That's a good point. Another question regarding like, is there grants that are focused on supporting fully Canadian small businesses, meaning probably like the business size or the revenue size?
Absolutely. I would recommend just going to our online platform on helloDarwin. You'll be able to enter your company size and your business focus and industry and be able to narrow it down what grants are available for you. Lots of those grants are for a bit bigger project in itself. So I do understand if a startup is not going to recognize themselves here. But there are lots of grants for them for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Good. I'm good for now.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll move to. I think this is the last program we have in. No, we have one more. Okay, so the Regional Innovation Initiative in Residential Construction. So this is. I did say construction was a very big pain point for Canada, and one of the solutions for that is to be able to invest more in modular homes. So prefabricated. So everything that is made in a factory. Because I mean, a worker in a factory costs $35 an hour. A worker on site costs $85 an hour. So obviously, the more the house is built in factory, the less expensive it is for the consumer at the end. And the goal is to be able to build more new homes. And so this program can cover up to 50% of eligible expenses for projects that either improve productivity and production capacity, or improve or demonstrate new innovation in modular multi-units housing manufacturing solutions. This is not a grant; it's a loan. It's a reimbursable contribution, but interest-free with a 2-year capital deferral. So it's a very interesting proposition.
Interesting. And the last one. Not true. We have 2 more, actually.
Let's talk about the shred.
Let's talk about the shred.
It's a big one, right?
It's a big one to talk about. We absolutely need to talk about it. Lots of people when we talk about grants, the first thing that comes to mind is shred, which is actually a tax credit, but we can just bundle them up. Government incentives, correct. So the shred is the search, research, and development tax credits. So they want you to sort of challenge and have a technical uncertainty that you're challenging with and do some research and development on it. In the past few years, they removed the capital expenses, so the equipment and the machinery, from the expenses that were covered in the tax credit. They have now included it again, and they've also increased the amount of expenses that can be included in your tax credit. So lots of very positive changes for the people that are doing shred. It's increasing from 4.5 million in eligible expenses to 6 million in eligible expenses. So that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, it's the difference between, a $2.1 to a $2.4 million tax credit, which is significant.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, the acquisition and the amortization will be able to be done on the first year, correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, if the equipment also increases productivity, otherwise there are other tax credits that we can explore, which are generally more on the provincial side. If it's productivity, but talk to one of our advisors, and we're gonna make.
Did you mention the public company acceptance now for shred? Because like there has been an update for public traded companies.
Oh, correct. No, we didn't mention it.
Okay, because I had a question regarding that. Good. So now it's available for them as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, lots of positive changes. They really want to. With the new budget, they want to promote productivity, research and development, and also the intellectual property that's going to be improved and increased in Canada to help diversify their trade afterwards.
They also did say that they want to try to make the process as streamlined as possible. So there's going to be a pre-approval process that is optional, but that businesses can now do to be able to tell if their project is eligible or not, which is going to be, really helpful, because if the answer is no, then you don't have to waste time on filling the full application. And if the answer is yes, then there's already some pre-analysis done on your project.
Yeah. That's a positive change that we're seeing right now from the government. This time at the federal level, but in the last provincial budget in Quebec, it was the regrouping of the tax credit that they announced for next year with the CRIC tax credit that's going to be announced, and it's going to be a bit easier to file, supposedly so we'll find out next year.
Our tax credit experts are going to tell us.
Yeah, they'll let us know. So yeah, it's a good change that's going to help companies have more access and get more of the impact that is supposed to come from those government incentives.
And as you said, like it's one of the most like mainstream and well-known programs in Canada. The point here is how can you leverage SR&ED, but also the other programs, right? Combine those, or which one should I combine with SR&ED?
Yeah,
Or
if I'm capping, right, SR&ED or IRAP, like how do I position my expenses to be able to get the most out of them, right? And that's really where our experts can really help you optimize the funding strategy so that you can get a little bit more bang for your buck.
And some of those expenses could also apply to a lot of other grants like the RTRI or the other tax credit that you mentioned on the provincial level. So it's always a matter of understanding which is the best way to go about it and stack them together.
and how should I position my project and expenses
Absolutely.
to fit one or the other? Good.
And one last program, because it would not be 2025 if we did not talk about AI. So let's talk about AI. I know you love AI, so
I really do this. The AI Compute Access Fund was opened in July of 2025. It closed at the end of the month, and it was a very popular grant for the companies that are doing lots of AI computing. Have lots of AI computing expenses. So we're talking about AWS and the license and all of that. So all of the companies doing SR&ED or development of new technologies in AI are typically going to have a lot of expenses linked to that. We're talking from experience here, and that grant is a very popular one for helloDarwin as well, because those expenses are going to be a big strain on the research and development that companies are doing in Canada. So it ended on July 31st of 2025, but it has been announced that they're going to refinance it over the next few years. So it's $925 million over the course of the next 5 years that we'll be able to get from those budget as well. So that's a very good news in terms of just the companies doing research and development. Now we can do the SR&ED with the capital investment, and then you can also combine with the AI Compute Access Fund.
so stay tuned, coming soon.
Absolutely. So we've covered most of the grants that we wanted to cover.
I had a question that's I think in my opinion a bit funny, and I just want to ask it out loud. Where did the name helloDarwin come from? Survival of the fittest for grant applications. That's great. It's pretty on target, right?
Can we use that as a slogan on the website? Do you mind?
We're gonna trademark that. Yeah, definitely. You're 100% right? It's hello for the human approach. We're here. We're talking to customers all day long, and that's our like signature. But the Darwin approach is definitely regarding the evolution, survival of the fittest. So we think the narrative is there specifically for grants application where there is so much competition and it's hard to find the right fit. But every program has the right to be in place. So yeah, the narrative is there. Peter, you should come work in our marketing team, definitely.
We're looking for people. So next steps.
Oh, hang on. I just have one question regarding defense. So can we circle back to defense for a sec? I heard that the $8 billion in defense spending must be spent before the 31st of March. Is that correct?
It is.
So when it comes to procurement, because our focus is really grant the 70 billion portion of the defense procurement budget, I didn't really look as much into it, but I do know that to be able to reach our goal of 2% of GDP. Thank you. My translation skills were not on par right now. So to reach our 2% spending goal, we do need to significantly increase. So that would sound like a very fair assumption.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I've heard so far is mostly that we're most likely to not get it because establishing new contracts in the defense sector just takes so much time that it might not be attainable, but we'll see.
It's a great ambitious target.
Absolutely.
Peter is asking for an IP grant for the helloDarwin slogan that he mentioned. That's amazing. I love that.
We got you, Peter. All right. So do you want to guide us through the next steps?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, good. So we're pretty much at the end now. So thanks a lot for your questions. Now the question is where to go next, right? Because we talked about the overall initiatives, the priorities. We discussed a few grants, but as Vincent and Florence mentioned, there's a lot more to be obtained here, whether it's municipal, provincial. There's even some more sectorial programs that are available. as I said earlier, we have two ways of helping organizations. So whether it's not-for-profit or for-profit organizations, I'd say the helloDarwin platform is a good place to start overall. There's a free way of using it. You can look for grants, you can see the overall potential, and you can pay a monthly fee if you want to get more depth into the step-by-step process to gain that funding or to get more data on where should I go next and how should I leverage the different applications that I'm undertaking. But the 360 support, in my opinion, is the best way to leverage if you have multiple projects or if you have multiple capex coming in, because we do a complete outlook. And in both scenarios, if you talk to one of our advisors, they're gonna direct you to the right place to start based on your potential, because we're obviously pretty good at assessing if there's something to do in the 360 support or the platform itself. So yeah, you're gonna receive the complete transcript, the video, and obviously the links to get in touch with us. And so you can start from there. I don't think that we have more questions, but do we have something more that you want to cover?
I would say that for anyone, it would be a good thing to just have alerts and heads up on when lots of those grants are going to open over the next few months. Just a few of them are open right now, and you need to move ahead quickly. Get quickly on this, even more so for the tariffs and all of that. But for those new initiatives that are going to come out over the next few months, you want to be aware ahead of time to be prepared. So I would recommend either logging in and getting the alerts from our platform to let you know when new grants are opening up, or at least talking to someone from our team that could at least give you some updates.
Or just subscribe to our newsletter, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're always doing those types of sessions. But again, you're right. Just be in the ecosystem is a good place to start for sure.
Absolutely.
Good. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a good day.